When the investor pointed toward the service entrance, Elizabeth's answer cut through the music like a blade.
Oh, him. He's just the driver.
The words landed like ice. Across the room, William stood near the service door, his dark blue blazer suddenly heavy as armor. But William wasn't supposed to be a driver. 3 days earlier, he had sat at his small table reading the invitation from Elizabeth. Her text had glowed on his phone screen. "Please come. I want you there. E."
After all these years, maybe she was finally proud of me.
The night of the gala, William arrived at the Grand Royale Hotel. Luxury cars lined the red carpet, and he adjusted his blazer with nervous pride. Inside, the marble lobby gleamed with chandeliers. William scanned the crowd for Elizabeth, his daughter, the CEO.
You are early. Just wait by the back wall for now.
The smile William had worn all evening flickered. He moved toward the service entrance, the hope in his chest starting to crack. The gala now buzzed with wealth and champagne. Elizabeth held court with a circle of investors, her laugh sharp and practiced, while William stood invisible near the staff entrance when a silver-haired investor gestured toward the old man in the blue blazer. The question was inevitable.
Him? He's nobody, just the driver.
The investors chuckled politely, but across the room, Richard Morrison's champagne glass stopped halfway to his lips.
I know that face. It can't be, but it is.
William's shoulders sagged. The words landed like a second blow, robbing him of breath. He didn't even see Richard stare. Elizabeth turned away without a second glance, gesturing for another glass of champagne. She had already forgotten him.
Just the driver. After all these years, that's what I am to her.
The man who built half the firms in this room, and she called him a driver.
William remained by the service entrance, his glass untouched. The laughter of the gala bounced off him like stones on glass.
Excuse me. It's a fine evening, isn't it? I am Richard Morrison.
William Collins, just a guest.
Across the room, Elizabeth's laugh faltered when she saw the exchange. Her eyes narrowed into slits.
Stay quiet. This isn't the time. But how can she treat him like this?
William caught the flicker in Richard's eyes. Recognition quickly buried, but the hope that sparked in his chest died just as fast.
So, how do you know the host, Elizabeth Collins?
I've known her a long time, but tonight, I am just here to observe.
Richard nodded, his practiced smile returning as he placed his glass on a passing tray and stepped away.
He knows, but he won't say anything. Not here, not with her watching.
As the night deepened, William's memories surfaced. The daughter who once held his hand now refused to look at him.
She used to call me Dad with such love. Tonight, she can't even say my name.
Across the room, Elizabeth's laugh rang out, bright and cold as she charmed a new investor.
I built her company with my own hands, introduced her to every partner in this room, and she parked me near the kitchen.
Richard hadn't moved. His thumb pressed white against his glass, his stare fixed on William.
That woman has no idea who she just humiliated.
Elizabeth glanced down at her phone, then waved a waiter away. Her father was an afterthought.
I should slip out before I embarrass her more. She clearly wants me gone.
But as he turned, he met Richard's eyes. A hard, burning look that said something was going to change.
I made him a promise, but I can't watch this any longer.
Richard set down his glass and crossed the room toward Elizabeth. The smile on his face was the kind that had closed 100 deals, sharp and unreadable.
Miss Collins, a quick word. I couldn't help but notice the older gentleman by the service entrance. Is he a family friend?
Oh, just someone I hired to be helpful tonight. He's nobody important.
Lies. She's digging her own grave.
But Elizabeth's practiced smile didn't waver. She had no idea the string she was pulling.
Really? He has a certain gravitas. I thought he might be a mentor or an investor.
He was just a small businessman years ago. I helped him once and he repays me by driving my car. That's all.
Richard's jaw tightened. He had heard enough.
She's going to learn the truth tonight. whether she likes it or not.
He excused himself with a polite nod and turned away, his mind already forming a plan. Richard found William still standing by the potted plant, his empty glass balanced like a penance. The older man's eyes were distant.
Mr. Collins, I know who you are. I was there 20 years ago when you saved my first company from bankruptcy.
That was a lifetime ago, Richard. Tonight, I am just a driver. Please don't say anything.
You are not a driver. You are a legend. The entire room should be honoring you, not mocking you.
If you do that, you'll destroy her. The investors, the press, they'll turn on Elizabeth. I won't let that happen.
Richard's knuckles whitened against the back of a nearby chair. The silence of the man before him was a command.
I give you my word, William. I'll stay quiet for tonight.
Thank you. That means more than you know.
Richard released the chair with a quiet breath, but the fire in his eyes had only been banked, not extinguished.
He saved me once. I'll honor his wish until the moment it becomes impossible.
Richard threaded through the clinking glasses until he reached a seasoned investor he trusted, a man who owed his career to quiet mentors.
See that old man by the service door? That's William Collins. He pulled my company from the grave 2 decades ago. Elizabeth just called him a driver.
The other investor's hand froze mid-handshake. His eyes darted toward William, then back to Richard, wide with disbelief.
I promised him I'd stay quiet, but I can't. That man is the reason half the people in this room are standing. He deserves to be honored.
The two men stepped into a corner, their whispers drawing a third investor. The name William Collins moved like a live wire through the room. Richard outlined his plan. When Elizabeth took the stage for her speech, they would let her finish. Then they would rise.
No more words. Just stand and clap. Let everyone see who we truly owe our success to.
The investors exchanged glances. One by one, they nodded. A pact was sealed without a single signature.
Forgive me, William, but this is the only way to make her understand.
And so, in the gaps between champagne and false flattery, the truth took root, waiting for the microphone to crack open the evening. The room lights dimmed and a spotlight found Elizabeth at the podium, her diamond necklace catching fire under the glare.
Thank you all for being here tonight. The Collins Group has entered a new era, one defined by modern vision, not outdated sentiment. We don't cling to old ways or old names. Innovation is the only loyalty that matters now.
William's expression didn't change, but his hand stopped halfway to his pocket, a flinch no one else caught.
Old names. She means me. I am the name she's trying to forget.
Around the tables, investors shifted in their chairs. A few exchanged glances that held more meaning than their polite applause.
She's setting the stage for us. Every word she speaks is burying her deeper.
So tonight, I raise a glass to the future, and to leaving the past exactly where it belongs.
A scattered applause rose, but the silence beneath it was heavier. Richard's fingers went still around his glass stem. Across the room, the man Elizabeth had called a driver stood perfectly still, and the investors who knew waited for the first beat to break. After her toast, Elizabeth soaked in the applause. Behind her, Richard leaned toward an investor.
That man she mocked is William Collins. He built the companies funding this gala. Spread the word.
The investor's eyes widened. He turned, whispering. The name rippled outward.
The room must know before she leaves the stage. This can't wait.
At the podium, Elizabeth beamed, mistaking the murmur for approval. She raised her glass.
I knew you'd all understand. The Collins Group is about the future, not the past.
But the murmur wasn't agreement. It was revelation, passed from investor to investor like fire. Richard's hand steadied. He had done his part. Only the signal remained.
When I stand, they will follow. Then the room will see who built this empire.
The chandeliers seemed to dim. Elizabeth, still smiling, had no idea she was at the cliff's edge. As the final clap died, Richard leaned toward a seasoned investor and whispered,
William Collins once saved my entire firm with a personal check. He never asked for a penny back.
The older man's face changed. He mouthed the name with awe. William Collins, the legend who mentored the tech industry out of a garage.
That's him. And tonight Elizabeth told everyone he's just the driver.
Across the room, heads began to turn. William, sensing the shift, pressed his lips thin. Nearby, a framed article read, Business Legend Mentors Next Generation. Its glass reflected the chandeliers.
They're all staring. My daughter's biggest lie is about to crumble.
Richard gripped the back of his chair. The plan was now unavoidable.
When she stops clapping, we stand. No speeches, just honor.
The applause ended, leaving a silence thick as velvet. Elizabeth beamed, unaware the fuse had reached its end. As Elizabeth raised her glass for one more toast, a chair scraped harshly against the marble floor. Richard Morrison rose to his feet.
Mr. Morrison, the program isn't finished. Please sit down.
I'll be brief, Miss Collins, but this can't wait.
The investors turned, a wave of murmurs sweeping the tables. All eyes fixed on the silver-haired man. Elizabeth's hand tightened on the microphone, her practiced smile freezing into a rigid line.
Before this evening ends, I need to tell you all about a man you should know. A man who built the foundation half of you stand on tonight.
He's going to say it. Please, Richard. No.
Miss Collins called him a driver, but I call him a legend.
He paused, letting the silence stretch, before his eyes found William across the room. Richard's voice vibrated through the chandeliers, steady as a heartbeat, filling the silence Elizabeth had left.
23 years ago, I was about to lose everything. My company had 3 days of cash left. A man came to my office. He wrote a check, no strings, and said, pay it forward.
He didn't speak the name, but his hand opened toward the service entrance, and every head turned. William froze. The room was staring at him, and Elizabeth's glare burned from the stage.
That check saved my company. It saved 200 jobs. And it taught me that true power asks nothing in return.
Mr. Morrison, this is completely inappropriate. I must ask you to sit down.
The man I am speaking of is the reason this industry still believes in second chances.
No one breathed. The investors looked between Richard and the man in the blue blazer, like they'd uncovered a secret temple. Richard drew a breath, and the name that would shatter the evening sat on his lips.
Ladies and gentlemen, his name is William Collins.
The name dropped like a hammer. Elizabeth's face drained of color.
And the secret Elizabeth wanted to bury is that William Collins is her own father.
This is a vicious attack on my company. Security, remove him immediately.
A collective gasp rolled through the ballroom. No one moved towards security. Every investor sat frozen, their champagne trembling in their hands.
I should have left before this. Now she'll curse my name for the rest of her life.
I have proof, Miss Collins. The check your father wrote to save my company 23 years ago. Shall I show it to the room?
Elizabeth's hand shook on the podium, the microphone picking up the rattle of her knuckles against polished wood. William closed his eyes. His daughter's career, her polished image, all of it crumbling in the echo of a single name.
So tonight, let us honor the man who built more than just companies. He built futures. I stand for William Collins.
The silence after Richard's words pressed down like a stone. Then a chair scraped loudly across marble. The investor Richard had first whispered to rose to his feet, his clap slow and deliberate. Richard joined, his hands falling in time, a warrior's smile breaking across his face.
I said, stop. This is my gala, and you will not humiliate me.
But her shout was swallowed whole by the applause now filling the room.
They're standing for me. After all these years.
A third investor clambered up, then a fourth, men and women breaking their silence. Elizabeth's knuckles went white on the podium as she realized she had lost all control. A tear slipped from William's eye, tracing a path down the deep lines of his face. Half the room now stood, clapping for a driver they'd just discovered was a legend. The applause caught fire. Table by table, more investors rose until the clapping was a drum roll that shook the champagne glasses. Elizabeth stumbled back from the podium, her high heel catching on the velvet rope, her composure shattering.
William, come. Stop hiding behind a lie you never chose.
I can't. But they're pulling me into the light whether I want it or not.
A gap opened in the crowd, a path clearing from the service entrance to the stage.
This is a humiliation plot. You don't know what he really is.
Her scream was swallowed by the tidal roar of applause. William took a step, then another, his worn shoes crossing the marble like a man walking toward absolution. Richard's clap became a salute, his eyes locked on the man who saved him decades ago. The investors packed the room with noise, and the driver Elizabeth tried to erase became the sun at the center of her gala. The investors near the front beckoned with open hands, their eyes shining. "Come, William," someone mouthed through the applause.
Take the stage, William. This is where you belong.
Elizabeth watched from the edge of the stage, her face a wreck of smeared mascara and trembling fury. Firm hands pressed William's back, guiding him forward. The applause swelled into a thunder that vibrated in his bones.
All those years of silence, and now every heartbeat in this room is drumming my name.
The ovation became a roar, and no one sat. The chandeliers trembled under the force of their honor. Elizabeth pressed a hand to her chest as if trying to keep her heart from shattering through her ribs. William reached the stage stairs. Richard stepped back, his job done, his debt repaid. Elizabeth and William stood on the same platform for the first time that night, inches and worlds apart. The microphone waited. Every face in the room turned upward, breath held, ready to hear the legend speak. William's fingers curled around the microphone, his knuckles large and veined against the sleek metal.
I am not a driver.
The words were simple, but they landed with the weight of 20 years of silence.
I am William Collins, and I am Elizabeth's father.
He turned to face her, his eyes holding not anger but a sorrow that had aged him before his time.
She has built an empire, and I am proud of her. More than she knows.
A tremor ran through Elizabeth's composure, her lips parted as if to speak, but nothing came. The crowd erupted again, a booming wave of applause and shouts of Collins that shook the chandeliers. William lowered the microphone, his duty done, and the room kept roaring.
Maybe now she'll understand that I never wanted to steal her light.
The ovation became a full, rolling thunder as every last person in the room stood. Elizabeth stepped backward, her face pale as marble, and slipped out the side exit unnoticed. The gala moved on without her, the applause blocking the sound of her heels. Investors surged onto the stage, clasping William's hand and patting his back with murmured gratitude.
I broke my word, William, and I'd do it 100 times over.
You gave me back my name. I can't be angry.
The ballroom became a monument to the quiet power he had always held. The service entrance where he'd been discarded was now a distant memory. As the applause softened, another tear traced his cheek, not from pain, but from release.
I erased him, and they erased me.
Business cards were pressed into his palm by the dozen. Offers, invitations, apologies in thick cardstock.
I am just an old man who tried to do right. The credit belongs to the people who believed in second chances.
You deserve every bit of it, William, and this room is only the beginning.
But in the service corridor, Elizabeth pressed her back against cold concrete, her empire in ruins.
He ruined me. I ruined myself with my own pride.
She scrolled through her phone. Notifications bloomed like funeral wreaths. Investors withdrawing. The board demanding her immediate resignation.
In one night, I lost everything I ever built.
William accepted each handshake with a quiet dignity that made the investors bow their heads in respect.
I told you, William, this was always your place.
As the night wore on, William's eyes kept drifting to the side exit where Elizabeth had vanished, a hollow ache forming in his chest. William quietly slipped away from the investors congratulating him and made his way toward the service corridor, where Elizabeth had disappeared. Through the crack of the door, he saw her slumped against cold concrete, her phone lighting up with notifications that spelled her ruin.
Elizabeth.
She flinched but didn't look up. Her mascara was a dark river down her cheeks.
All I ever wanted was for you to see me, not as a driver, but as your father,
The silence that followed was thicker than the applause he'd just received. He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a murmur that only the two of them could hear.
I forgive you. Even now, I forgive you.
William didn't wait for a reply. He turned on his heel and walked back into the light of the ballroom. Behind him, a choked sob echoed in the corridor, the only sound Elizabeth could make. William emerged from the corridor into the lingering glow of chandeliers. The music had softened, and the investors' chatter was now a respectful hum.
It's over. She'll never look at me the same way, but I've done all I could.
He moved through the crowd and investors stepped aside, their eyes following him with an unspoken reverence. Richard appeared at his side, placed a hand on his shoulder, but said nothing. William simply nodded.
Thank you, Richard, for everything.
He turned and continued walking, his shoulders straight no matter the ache inside. At the grand doors, he paused and cast one final look at the Gala that had both broken and rebuilt him.
Goodbye, Elizabeth. I wish you'd understood sooner.
Then he stepped through the exit, and the doors closed behind him, muffling the last echoes of applause. Inside, the ballroom continued without its guest of honor. But the story of the driver, who was a legend, had already taken root. The night air was cool and clean, a sharp contrast to the champagne and tension he had left behind. William stopped on the sidewalk, drew a long breath, and felt the weight of decades lift from his shoulders. A taxi waited at the curb, its door held open by a doorman who nodded with the respect William had always deserved. He slipped into the back seat, and the door closed with a quiet thud, sealing away the noise and the glare.
I went in as a driver and came out as a father. That's enough.
The Grand Royale Hotel shrank behind him, its golden windows now just another landmark in a city full of stories. He didn't look back. The man who had saved companies, who had been called just a driver, was finally driving toward his own peace. Somewhere inside the hotel, a woman sat alone in a dark corridor, her empire reduced to a single tear-stained screen. While a mile away, a taxi carried a legend home, his heart lighter than it had been in 20 years.